we got some good insight. So, since you spoke of credit, it is actually the first question on my list. There is a growing perception, and some bankers also admit it, that while there is a demand for credit, the terms and conditions now have become so onerous post the cleanup, and bankers have become so risk averse that borrowers don't actually want to borrow.
They have definitely become much more risk averse, and that's the point actually I made. There is enough demand for credit today. So if you look at the banks, by and large, they're only giving to the AAA companies and the AA companies where the risk is relatively lower. But there's the rest of the countries, and I think you raised the question about private credit. These are the companies which are now paying a lot for private credit. And these costs, I mean, we also have a private credit fund, so I can tell you that the costs are like 15, 16%. So these cannot be sustainable. Today, what also happens is that many of the better performing companies, though are BBB, they are hoping to get a upgrade in their credit or also listing on the markets. But in the long term, you need to have more people or more companies which are in BBB, BB, which can get credit. So we have to ensure that.
Also, there is a structural change in India's savings pattern. It has begun, and I think in the financial savings piece, we are likely to see more money going into mutual funds, direct investments in stock markets. Now, if you were to look at this, that means the cost of borrowing for banks is going to rise. It's likely to rise because, if they want to garner more deposits. So, how are you actually reading the interest rate situation? While we feel that everything is benchmarked to a repo rate or a T-bill rate, actually it is liquidity in the system which determines the ultimate cost of money. So, because you're saying that the rates are already high, and the real rate you pointed out is 230 bips. How are you actually seeing interest rates move?
I think we will also have to see that how we can get the corporate bond market to be more, become much more efficient so that more and more credit is available. Just like I gave you the instance of the JP Morgan index and 2 lakh crores will come more into the system. Similarly, we will have to get this corporate bond market to be more available. We'll have to ensure that, see how we can have pension funds and other savings come into the market. I think there has to be a collection of several such initiatives to see that we get there. Still, I think the deposit ratio, how will we get into, as the economy grows, there will be more wealth coming into areas which are not there. That cash can we get into the deposits. It will be a multiple of things.
But, bond markets, we've spoken about this at least for 25 years.
That's what I said.
I myself, since I was in ET.
I said that, but if the rest of the world can do it, we have to learn. I think I'm told there are lots of tax and, many things have to be done to get this to be a really good
So
market.
In the near term, where are you really seeing interest rates come down? Because the repo coming down by 25 bips or 50 bips, to my mind, is not going to make much of a difference.
I think we heard what the governor said. We'll go by that. I don't see much in this year, the rates coming down. I don't think so.
Also, in this context of debt, there are a lot of, I would say, entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs or people with wealth who believe that it is better to invest rather than set up new capacity. The kind of returns they are seeing, whether from a startup or even existing units or even in the markets. If you're going to earn 10%, 12% a year, why take on this enormous risk of borrowing This seems to be worryingly a growing trend.
This is temporary. We've seen markets go up, we've seen markets go down. Over a period of time, an entrepreneur is willing to take risk, I believe, and their returns are generally going to be higher than what the markets do. Today, the market is, it's the record high, but it can also go down. People are aware of that. So I think it's a much more sustainable if you build a business than it is when you just invest in the markets. That's
so you do see private
I think
capex?
So. I think, it's a question
because
of
we've
time.
been talking about this for 3 years now, and now the 15% concessional tax is gone.
So I think we have to also encourage. Now there was also, a paper put out by RBI, for instance, on project finance and how greater provisions have to be made by banks and by NBFCs if you do project finance. This means that the cost of funding again goes up if this is implemented. So we have to make it more and more. We have to make it more attractive, really.
But you yourself are pointing out that the rates are so high, and you pointed out for MSMEs, the flow of credit to that sector, and for them the interest rate difference is the margin.
Yeah, but still I think the entrepreneurial spirit in India is still there. Fortunately for us, if you go and see, the young people want to do some more things. I can see it across many people I meet. They want to invest in new businesses. And frankly, that's a big plus as far as India is concerned. You go abroad, especially large parts of the world, I don't want to name them, you will find that there's not this enthusiasm and optimism for the future. So.
But the largest part of the capital which has funded the startups is not local money.
It
is foreign money which has funded. No Indians. The share is minuscule.
So that's the point. We have to encourage. All types of capital. We will need foreign capital if you want to grow. Every country needs it. We also find now the first time actually, if you look at the markets also, the high net worth individuals or the domestic investment is more than what the FII is. There's an outflow, as you know, of FDI. So this is but that's fine. I think as the country is growing, as people get confidence, if we get capital from outside, there's no problem in it. We need to ensure that the cost that we are paying is not high. And therefore, if the rates are competitive here, then globally also you'll get that.
It's just a general question that, we in India, we do have a history of entrepreneurship. From the Tatas, Birlas, Mahindras, Goenkas, and not a single business house has spawned a successful startup of the nature of a Zomato. Not one young entrepreneur in this country.
If I look at...
and the one who did failed.
No, it's not like that. If you look at
it is like that.
What is Jio? Wasn't it a startup at some time?
No, I'm talking about in the e-commerce space. Jio is a hybrid.
In the e-commerce, I know that Tatas have invested a lot of money in the e-commerce. You'll see the things coming up.
No, my question is, why is it that, most of the startups have been founded by youngsters from IITs, IIM dropouts, etc. If you think of even the poster boy of startups in India, he does not come from an established
So that's
family.
good. No? In fact, I'm happy that that's happening because you want entrepreneurship to spread across. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all these were young fellows. Many of them were dropouts.
Okay. A slightly political question. What do you make of the reservation that state governments seem to be increasing?
You've seen the response. I don't think I need to comment more. I think...
No, because you noted, in the context of jobs, you pointed out that, we need to create the jobs. You pointed to the K-shaped recovery. So in this context, how do you view such a development?
I think, in my view, you have to, it is one country at the end. And we have seen that people have moved from forget one state to the other. You've seen so many of our young fellows have gone into the US and have done so well. So I think why start restricting within our country when even other countries are encouraging our people to come? Now you have many people. You have probably the vice president nominee's wife being from Andhra. So that's how we should be.
With the budget around the corner, would you have a message for the FM, a spiritual message?
I am no one to give a spiritual message to the FM. I think she knows her job well, and we'll just wait for it for the 24th.
One wish.
I think, frankly, we've had really good fiscal discipline. We just continue on that path.
Thank you. We'll just take a couple of questions, if it's all right with you.
Yeah. So Raghav Subramanian, NM Rothschild.
I can't hear. Just speak in the mic, please.
So Raghav from NM Rothschild. So since you raised the issue of the credit funding, so I wanted to ask you, so business houses such as yours, all right? So if you have, what do you think of the ECBs and the play, external commercial borrowing, and then you have the subsidiaries of foreign currency exchangeable bonds, convertible bonds. So do you think that the rules which have already been relaxed to such an extent so as to facilitate the foreign portfolios, do you think anything more can be done with regards to?
I think even now, yeah. So you're seeing that the number of ECBs that are being now raised are significantly higher than before. That's just that the attractiveness of the Indian market itself is there. And there are certain issues on taxation and all, which I think hopefully we'll see that it'll get resolved. But that is an important source of funding which is required for the country. Today also, as you probably know, in the US, you talked about private credit. I think the concern is more of private credit in the US. Today the rates are so high and so attractive for private credit, 12-13% in dollar terms. It's becoming very expensive for Indians to raise that.
Mr. Piramal, this is from Financial Express Online. You mentioned about tribals, and I think, as I see, you have pharma also in your hold. You also have sickle cell anemia, which I think also was something which recognized earlier by Piramal. My pointed question is actually, we have decoding inclusive growth as our agenda. What about inclusive credit as a leading NBFC? What would be the one or two areas in which actually you can take some measures that we can further this cause? Second, we are a news publication. We are always looking in terms of Piramal Group's aspiration, in terms of moving to bank. There's so many things which are there. If yes, what would be your immediate priority on that?
So we are definitely in the inclusive credit. So for affordable housing, in tier 2, tier 3, we have actually made significant investments today. We've got about 13,500 people in the field force itself. And in terms of incremental credit being given to the affordable, that is average of about 15 lakh housing loans, 15 to 20 lakhs. I think we are one of the largest now in terms of disbursements of loans in the NBFC sector. So yes, we believe that inclusive credit is really required, because we've seen in all our businesses, I mean, how have we grown? It's not only through equity. The cost of equity is much more expensive than that of credit. You need a healthy mix of both.
What about your aspirations in terms of when will you be a bank? What would be the, I mean, you are always growth driven and metrics driven.
We will wait for what the RBI says. So as far as we are concerned, we are taking all whatever necessary measures it is so that you fall in line with all the regulations that the RBI has, and then we will wait and see.
Hello, my name is Vivek Srivastav, and I had a comment rather than a question that I'd like you to expand on. So I'm doing a startup. I'm going to be launching a very interesting startup. And what I'm finding is that the ecosystem for startups is quite challenging and really lacking in India, really. Both from funding, from any sort of support. they basically, it's like a catch-22 situation I'm finding, where they want you to be, successful, EBITDA positive, etc., then they'll come in and help you. But I don't need your help if I'm already there. So, it's at the early stage where I'm finding it that it's very, very lacking. I'd like to hear your comments.
So, the startups, first of all, it is a tough journey. So I'm not saying that because it's the idea itself, and I actually applaud you for doing a startup. But as you know, that there was a lot of euphoria a couple of years ago. So people were, actually nobody was talking about EBITDA at that time. They were just talking about GMV, and they were just talking about, what the sales was, and a multiple of sales is what people were getting. And many of them have lost money in this. Therefore, people have become much more careful in that. I mean, Byju's is the great example, as you know. It was, 20, 30 billion at its peak, and now it's nowhere. So we have to be, this will continue. There will be times when there's euphoria. There will be other times when people will start becoming a more conservative. But let me say that if you have a sound business model, it's not only you have to be EBITDA positive in the first few years. People will appreciate that. And I can wish you luck in that because it's always a tough journey.
Last question.
Hi, this is Ajay. Sir, I would like to know what is your opinion that within the organizations, just like innovations are one of the wing we are already working. Can we think about the employees to promote within the organizations to think to build entrepreneur within the employee?
I think today you have to have entrepreneurial spirit within organizations. And therefore, we also try and encourage innovation within this. Because, you may say entrepreneur is not only outside, but within corporations as well. And in such a competitive thing, you have to have that innovation within. Actually, if you see the success of most companies, it is the innovative ideas. They are creating markets which were not there earlier. Yes. So I think that culture has to be there. We also try and encourage it. And
okay, thank you.
Yeah, if Mr. Piramal allows, I was enjoying the presentation. I've written a few rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
Can I ask you from here? Because I think there's some things that I wanted to hear from you.
This is a tough one, but yes. And then I always get scared of your rapid fire. So
you can leave them if you find if you find them as no balls. So firstly, how much should we be concerned about India's sovereign credit rating?
Sorry?
India's sovereign credit rating. How much is that a concern? How much should we be concerned? Are we spending too much time on it? Too little time on it?
No, I think it's always better to get a better credit rating because then the cost of funds comes down significantly. And there are many indices which will give you funding because of the credit. So it's good to have that credit. It'll increase the availability of funding and the cost of funding.
Okay, the one lesson the Fed can learn from the RBI.
I think just look at the regulation. Governor spoke about crisis in 2023. If you looked at what happened at the SVB, frankly, there was no regulation at all. There was no risk, nothing. I think they should just follow what RBI has done. We've not had any such blow up. Or look at the blow up of Credit Suisse. It is one of the top 2 banks of Switzerland, and what happened. So.
Yeah. The one thing that excites you about digital currency?
I think digital currency, I'm not the expert on crypto, so let me pass that.
This is a way to bypass crypto and for government to officially get involved with digital currency?
Yes. So that's what it is, but I'm not really well versed in it, so I don't want to.
Okay. In one word, the future of the US dollar.
US dollar? I think it's always going to remain strong, whatever happens, because the US is just too big. You need economic size, you need military power and strength, which is what US has. So I don't see that coming down.
And it will remain the global currency of trade.
I think so, at least, yeah.
Okay, one piece of advice for the next American president, whoever he is.
I'm no. Just stay fit and healthy.
Okay. Okay, your advice to someone who is bullish on the future of cryptocurrencies.
I don't understand it, so if I don't understand it, I'm not a person to comment, as I said.
Okay, by the year 2047, when Bharat is Viksit, will we have more or fewer banks than we have today?
We'll need definitely more banks and larger banks.
No, larger or few. If you have to choose between larger and
Both.
more.
It has to be more banks and many more larger banks.
Okay. One piece of advice you have for a fintech founder today.
Fintech founder, I think you just have balance. You can't go either way.
Okay.
Neither through great times or bad times. All things balance out at the end.
Okay. And the one failed NBFC whose turnaround or, whose, turnaround's a better word, but whose rescue you're impressed with.
So what we had, so DHFL was a failed NBFC.
Yes.
It had a 90,000 crore, loan from the system, and we took it over, and now it's turned around.
Okay. And last, the one word for the future of futures and options.
That's not my area again, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was really very informative. Thank you for the perspective.